Yo guys, what's up? It's your boy TRUEDBZ back with another reaction video. Today's video I'll be looking at Sajam's video on motion inputs, as this was a big discussion around the time that this video came out a couple weeks ago. But before we get into that, please hit the like and subscribe button at the end of the video if you enjoyed. It does wonders for the channel, helps me stay motivated to create more content like this. Also be sure to check out my links down below. In the description are my links to my Twitter and Twitch accounts, my channel artist page bossumans on Twitter and TikTok where he posts his artworks and commissions, and my playlists are there as well to provide you with more of my content. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into today's reaction.
The topic of motion inputs came up again. As usual, I try not to rehash old topics unless I have something interesting to talk about, but here we are. First and foremost, I thought this was really funny. This is controls in FIFA. I didn't know FIFA had it like this. This is actually a half circle input. Hocus Pocus is quarter circle back, quarter circle from back down all the way to the right side. You see this? They have charge moves, hold right, flick up, 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 down, right? Like the NRS move.
Wait, so sports games have motion inputs, yet fighting game players can't? You know what, to be fair, I'm really bad at half circles, so maybe I shouldn't be talking here. But I think it's actually pretty interesting. I didn't know sports games had motion inputs. I thought that was only a fighting game thing, but I stand corrected.
This post is what got everybody talking about motion inputs. Basically, the new Invincible game has one button special moves, and this made everybody mad because it's the fourth game in a row announced with one button special moves, basically, right? Like Tokon, they announced that they have an option to play with motion inputs, but also they have like a mode that has one button specials. This game has one button specials. This game has one button specials. This game has one button specials. All of these combined, I think, broke sort of something in people and they got really frustrated.
It's frustrating.
I prefer motion inputs. I think they're more fun to do. I think they're more interesting. I think they create stuff that you can balance around, and they create a point in the game where when you're trying to do these kinds of things, the limitation of this affects how your characters move and operate and how the balance of moves are. So like when someone reacts to a fireball with a super motion and they have to do double quarter circle and a button, then it makes it so that they can't stop fireballs at every range all the time always, because it's not just one button.
Okay, that I agree with, but if your game is balanced around that, I don't see the issue. See, I think the issue, well, maybe he'll get into this later, but for me, like, my stance on this topic is that it's a game-by-game basis. We have to see what the game plays like and what it feels like to see if it's an issue or not, right? I don't think there's some uniform world where all fighting games are all motion inputs or all fighting games are special buttons. I think there's a world where both can coexist, and I think a lot of fighting games would be in its best interest to have both as an option, not one or the other. Now, the fact that these games outside of Marvel Tokon, where Sajam just said that there's an option for both playstyles, I don't think the other three has options for motion inputs. It's just what the game is built around, these one button specials, right? So once again, we just have to see how the game plays and see if it's a fundamental issue or it's just a quirk of the game that people will just be like, if the game is for them, then they'll like it. If it's not for them, they won't play it, right? I don't think there's a uniform right or wrong when it comes to this topic. And then when he's talking about like how people do things on reaction, basically his argument is that when things are harder to do on reaction, you can kind of balance moves that way, which I don't think that really matters at high level. If you're playing a game competitively or even at high ranks, that doesn't really matter in a lot of cases, because even the most hardest characters in fighting games, if they're broken enough, people will play it and will perform well with them, right? So I don't really think that's it matters more at the skill floor than the skill ceiling, but I don't think it affects the overall health of the game too much. But once again, I think it's the context matters. Like, the game is built in. I think that's where, like, it truly matters. It just depends on what game we're talking about here. But yeah.
This is Gold Lewis's inputs in Guilty Gear Strive. As many of you know, he does half circles. He's, I think, the coolest Guilty Gear design just overall in terms of how his kit works and stuff.
Facts, 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 facts. Gold Lewis is one of my favorite fighting game characters of all time, and I will die on that hill.
I think it's one of the most compelling, fascinating character designs ever built in a fighting game. And it works because the motion is the direction he's swinging the coffin. Gold Lewis is so cool. And this is a design, you can't do this without motion inputs, because think about how many buttons you would need on your controller to do this. And that's not counting any other special move the character may have, right? If you're not going to do motion inputs in the game, you have to understand that you can never build this. You won't be building something as innovative and cool and interesting and like intuitive, and like your hands won't ever feel what it's like to do this. You may not like Strive, you may not like Gold Lewis's power level, whatever, but I think this is literally one of the coolest things anybody has ever come up with in a fighting game. Yeah.
I 100% agree with this. In terms of building complex characters with a special button, I don't know about that, because let's just say like a character, like the game is built around having a special button. Well then, what if you create characters where if you hold the special button, it gets a different reaction, right? Instead of doing press the button once to get a fireball, if you hold down the button, you get a stronger fireball. Or you can hold the button, and if you hold up, you shoot the fireball up, and it comes down as like a little acid rain or something, right? You can do cool things with a special button. You just have to be creative. Now, is it going to be more or less creative than what Gold Lewis does? It depends on the developers and how they build their characters. But I don't think I don't 100% agree that one button special like having a special button I would say gives less creativity like abilities to developers, because there are plenty of other I shouldn't say I was about to say fighting game genres. There's plenty of other genres where there is a power button or a powered up button or a special button, and they give characters all crazy kind of abilities. If you do special plus light or special plus down or something like that, like you can create complex and creative movesets. It's just that the developers have to make it special and creative, you know? So developers can technically make a move set like Gold Lewis with a special button, but then have something else attached to it, right? You do special down, special up, special light, medium, heavy, or all buttons at the same time, you know? So you can do creative stuff with a special button. It's just how you build it.
Yeah, in fact, this character, Daisuke was not involved with him. So it's pretty fascinating that this is how they built the character. The control scheme gets beat up for having special move buttons. And I think it's probably the reason that 2XKO, people had complaints about the control scheme, because there's 2 special move buttons. And the same thing with Net Impact. You have to have 7 buttons on your controller because of the special move button. And that's probably the fear for this game, for Invincible Versus. And then Tokon, they're going to have a mode that allows you to do it and not like a default control scheme. So it doesn't get in the way with that, but potential there. And that is the problem. I think the most elegant solution is like what Street Fighter did, but I think building modern controls is very hard. How thoughtful they were about like each character's modern specials, each character's move sets that they get, their auto combos, their auto normals and stuff that they get. Like they had to put
I will say this: if you're gonna have a special button for special moves, supers, yada yada yada, I feel like the best case scenario is to have one special move button that the game is built around. Because, like with 2XKO, he just mentioned there's 2 special buttons for moves, and I feel like that can be a little encumbersome, right? Depending on, once again, it depends on how the game is played, right? If you do like one special button is for like light special moves, and then there's another special button for like the heavy or specialized special moves, like DPs, moves with plus frames, yada yada yada. And then let's just say like you press both special buttons for like a super attack or a tag mechanic, right? That can work. It's just that it depends on the game, right? I've never played 2XKO, so I don't know what it's like. But once again, I feel like a system like that can work It's just that some people gravitate towards it and some won't. So I don't know. I don't. I think the best, once again, I think the best case scenario is to have a 1 button for special moves. Just overall. 2 is kind of pushing it. I don't think 3. 3 is too much. 3 is too much. But 1 to 2, you can make that work. You can make that work.
A lot of work into making modern good, and even then, not every modern character feels great to play, right? Like some of the modern characters feel a lot better than others because like their toolkit fits nicely in the modern glove, whereas some others you can tell that like they did their best, but it's kind of hard to make. Modern JP is a lot of people bring him up, but I think like part of it is he has so many moves that it's hard to fit all of his useful normals and specials on a very small amount of options. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Street Fighter is sort of limited in their design space because modern can only have so many charge moves, right? Basically, like you only get like 1 back forward charge move and 1 down up charge move. So I think the reason a lot of the characters lost their charge motions for other stuff is because on modern, you don't have light punches and light kicks, medium punches, medium kicks. You have light, medium, and heavy. You can't do like down up kick or down up punch, which in older games could be 2 different charge moves. That just gives you an example of like how the design space changes when you have less buttons to work with. The more I partake in fighting games,
yeah, but you don't have to interact with it. That's the thing. I feel like, for me, from my perspective, the Street Fighter 6 development team doesn't, or from what I understand, they don't want modern control characters to be competitive. They just have it as an option to get people into the door, and then by limiting what the character does, if the player likes the character enough to be like, I wonder what this character's like in classic mode, and they say, oh, there he gets like a ton more moves, then it's like I can do more with my character. I feel like modern controls is a gateway, not a replacement for classic, right? Whereas like the other games, the special move button is a replacement for motion inputs, right? I feel like comparing Street Fighter 6 modern controls to the special move button that these games are implementing is not a fair comparison, because from my perspective, it serves 2 completely different purposes, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but I don't think it's a fair comparison, but you know.
And watch new players learn and run things like the slam. The big thing for me is that most people, when they get into fighting games, whether there's modern control or not, most people just want to jump in and do cool stuff. A lot of the people who play in the slam play on classic anyway, just because they're like, well, if I'm going to play this game and I care about this game, like it looks fun, I want to learn it, like I'm going to learn classic because it gives me more options and that sounds more fun. For some people, they may say that like motion inputs are a barrier for them, and I think that may be true. Not a barrier physically always, but like sometimes mentally. It could be physically as well, but most of the time when people want to get involved in a fighting game, the barrier is not like the motion inputs are too hard or something like the game's difficulty. It's just like they don't want to start. But once they start, people learn. Like if you've watched the slam at all, most of the people who've ever played in the slam have climbed from like being a brand new player to plat, diamond, master, like masters, and climbing. Box.
I can attest to this. There's plenty of streamers that I watch, and a lot of them either participated in Sage and Slam. I think they're doing it by like seasons or whatever. This is like season 2 right now for Sage Jam Slam. But they either participate in the last one or in the current one, or they just picked up fighting games just whatever, whenever. And a lot of them kind of pick up the basics of motion inputs pretty quickly. Quarter circles are relatively easy for them to understand. DP inputs can be a little challenging for them. Half circles more so. And then you have like your half circle forwards, and then you have your... I think most people get downs pretty quickly. Those are like the most relevant motion inputs in modern games right now. There aren't like any like corkscrews or whatever the fuck from like the older generation of games, but like, oh yeah, and charge inputs. Charge inputs are something that most players don't like. I like charge moves, charge characters, but I know a lot of people don't like charging in fighting games. But overall, I think Sajam is correct on this one. That the motion inputs themselves isn't the barrier, it's them getting started is the barrier. And once they find a character that they like or find the groove of the game flow, it's just like do they want to continue playing the game or not. It's not about, I have to learn these inputs, right? It's just about, do I enjoy playing the game, right? So I agree with that. Thank you everyone for making it this far into the video. Just gonna take a quick break to do some shoutouts. First, shoutouts to my friends' channels. Please consider checking them out as they provide a variety of content, so at least one of them will have something that you'll enjoy. Second, if you live near the York, PA area, please head down to Ready Up Gaming Lounge. It's a place where gamers from every genre can come together and play in a comfortable and chill environment. They are open from 11 AM to 8 PM every day and hold dedicated events every week. For my channel's interest, they run Fighting Fridays, where for $5.30, you can play a multitude of fighting games with various players. They have big games like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but they also have niche games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Guilty Gear Strive, Rivals of Aether 2, and more. Finally, shout out to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. You guys really make doing content fun and worth pursuing. Alright, back to the video.
Had never really played a fighting game serious, and he's 1800 MR in Street Fighter. He plays modern, but then there's someone like SK who got involved in the second Street Fighter Slam. She's now 1500 on Classic. If you're gonna build a game with no motion inputs, like, first of all, you can. It doesn't kill the game's interest for me for having a one-button special move. The way that seems the best, if you want to like cite anything, is the way Street Fighter has built a separate control scheme that like helps with the onboarding. That's like default, and then having old fogey mode for people like me that people can jump to later. It also takes the most work. I mean, personally, I prefer doing motion inputs, as you guys know. That's not the problem for me. The problem is usually other stuff. My feedback about this game, as an example, is never like, ugh, I hate one button special. It sucks. It's dragging the fun out of the game for me, right?
Okay, so I don't know if he's gonna talk about how other games have tried to tackle it. We're about halfway through the video, but I want to say this up front. My favorite system when it comes to the motion inputs versus simple inputs debacle is DNF Duel. That will always be my favorite system control scheme ever. The reason for this is that DNF Duel does both. It has motion inputs and it has simple inputs. And the way that the game does it is that if you do the regular motion inputs, I believe the game only has quarter circle forwards, quarter circle backwards, and DP forward. There's no DP backwards, there's no half circle, there's none of that. It's just 3 inputs. Quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, DP forward, right? Those are the only 3 that you need to know. What the game does is that if you use motion inputs for special moves, your special moves are more powerful, which I believe they do more damage, and the energy regeneration that you get after using a special move regenerates faster than if you do the simple inputs, whereas simple inputs gives you less damage and the cooldown for your energy regeneration is a lot longer. So for example, a lot of times when I play DNF Duel, I always did quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, but usually the DP input, DP forward, is usually the reversal. And I'm pretty sure that's for every character. The DP input is always their reversal, whether it's a DP, a counter, an uppercut, whatever, right? Usually I would do the simple input for my reversal because it's just a lot easier to just do the reversal just immediately when I see like someone jump or when there's a gap. I could just immediately push a button and get out of the pressure. What that means is that if the DP whiffs, if I get baited and I get hit, not only did I lose meter for doing it, but also while I'm getting attacked, I don't gain meter as fast as if I did it in the same scenario, right? So let's say I do DP and it gets baited. My opponent does like, I don't know, like 100 damage combo on me, and it lasts for like 8 seconds, right? An 8-second combo. If I did it with the DP input, then I would regain meter at the 2-second mark into the combo, right? But if I did it with the simple input, I would regain meter at the 4-second or 6-second mark, right? So I gain less meter for doing the simple input, right? So there's risk and reward for it. So like, I feel like DNF Duel has the best system when it comes to that, because it directly affects how you play the game with your meter management and damage. And I feel like that's the best way that I feel like a lot of games should take inspiration from that. But yeah. Yeah, that is my personal favorite way of doing motion inputs and simple inputs in a fighting game. That is my favorite system overall.
It's like, I wish this character could do better mix-ups, or I wish this character had better movement. And I feel that way about all of these games with one button specials, and basically every game I played with one button specials, to be honest with you. And like, you can have high execution checks without motion inputs, but motion inputs are just fun. People say things like, I don't want to learn fighting games because motion inputs are too hard, and I don't want to learn how to do all these fancy motion inputs before I play the game. I think stuff like that to me sounds like, when I used to play Killer Instinct, everybody would say, oh, Killer Instinct looks really fun, but I don't have an Xbox, so I don't want to play it. But if it was out on Steam, I'd totally try it. And then like the game came out on Steam and all those people were like, yeah, I'm good. What they actually want to say is, I don't really feel like trying a fighting game because like, I don't really have any interest. When I play stuff, I don't play it very casually. Like if I'm like, ooh, I want to learn a game, I'm gonna learn the game. I'm gonna watch like high level people play the game. I'm gonna try to like optimize and like learn good strategies and like play the game really well. So if I'm saying I don't want to learn a game because like I don't want to dive in, like it's a lot of work to jump in and like get started, that's what I mean. Something like Path of Exile. I tried Path of Exile. That game is like super complicated. If I cared,
I mean, for that point, I agree. A lot of people just don't care about fighting games. So like when you bring it up, it's just like, oh, you know, the game's a little too hard. You know, for me, I'm pretty much almost always honest about games that I will and won't play, especially nowadays, because my time is so limited and my money is limited. So like if I'm not interested in the game and my friends recommend it to me, I'm just like, that's cool, and I just move the fuck on. You know, there's only like a very few select amount of games where I'm like, I'll get to it, and it's just like, I don't know when that is, but I really want to try it. It's just that, you know, time, money, yada yada. But overall, I'm really honest when it comes to video games.
I would like learn everything about the game and like play it, right? But as someone who like doesn't really have the interest, I'm like, nah, I don't really want to jump in. It would take me too long, and I'm not interested enough. That's the truth. Totally fine. If you don't want to try, like, I have no problem with it. Also, when people say it's too hard, they mean relative to their level of interest, which can be extremely low. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. You can learn something hard. Like, people are malleable. They're capable of learning and enjoying things. You all remember like the first day you worked a job and you didn't know anything about the job ever, and then you've been on it for like 2 years now, and now you can like do it without even thinking. Do your entire routine for the whole day while thinking about how bad you want to go home and watch Sinners in IMAX. You can just do a whole day, brain out of your body at this new job. Whereas when you started, you're like, this is impossible. I don't know where anything is. I need help with everything. I got to walk around and ask everybody where anything is. Some customer asked me some question. I don't know. Every single human is capable of learning a fighting game and getting good at them, actually, I think. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of people who are real good at fighting games are not savants. They're not prodigies. A lot of them are just like people who cared, and then they put in a lot of time and effort and energy, and they got really good. That's most people, in fact. Like, you can definitely do it. What I'm getting at here at the end is that we should make fighting games for people who love fighting games, and then get other people interested because the games are just so awesome that you feel like you're missing out by not playing them. Modern Control is really good, and it's awesome, and it's helped a lot of people learn. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this game just came out and had such an alluring package that even if it didn't have Modern Control, it would be insanely successful. But I think Modern Control is great proof of like building a mode in the game that helps onboard people, that specifically solves the problem that I think Street Fighter has. That when you're new and you just mash buttons, nothing cool happens. And Modern Control fixes that, which I think is like the biggest deal. The idea of Modern Control helps get a lot of people in as well. Like, I don't think you need Modern to learn Street Fighter. But I think that if you think you need Modern to learn Street Fighter, that's part of why it's important for it to exist. If that's what it takes to get you through the...
Honestly, that's a fire-ass line, actually. I kind of like that. That's actually really good.
...door, then I'm happy to have it in the game. Get it? Come on in, you know? Like, pull up, you know? You don't have to have one button specials in your games. I like doing motion inputs, but if you're gonna have them, it's fine. Just don't mess up my control scheme and give me hard stuff to do. I just want there to be more violence. I want there to be like powerful mix, good options to open people up. Versus games are not fun if you don't have that. And like if you build a versus games that has one button specials and then like weak mix-ups and then not fun combos for me to do, then you might as well have like not created a product. You need interesting combos that are fun to do, execution heavy, and like cool things to lab in the game, satisfying mix-ups and offense that you can do, and then usually like good movement as well. So if you remove motion inputs, then you need to come up with a way to have execution despite that. These things need to exist for versus games to be fun, I think, for most people.
Yeah, so once again, I agree with Sajam for the most part. I think Sajam is one of the most nuanced creators in the FGC overall. From my perspective, a lot of people are either all or nothing. All classic video games and it's like the old games were better, and then on the other side it's like all the new games are better because more people are playing them, and you know, stuff like that. The internet is such a bad place. But I think Sajam is one of the few people that I respect in a lot of ways when it comes to topics like this, because even though I might disagree with him, for the most part I do agree with him, but even when I disagree, his logic for why he believes it is most of the time sound, and it's just a perspective thing, right? So yeah, another great video from Sajam. Just a little recap. I think that simple inputs and motion inputs are purely a game-by-game basis. I don't think there's a uniform answer to yes on motion controls or no on motion controls. It depends on what the game is, how the game flow is, what type of game it is, what are the devs trying to accomplish with the game, and you know, player feedback, right? If the game that you're selling to players are a certain way and it's just like they're not vibing with it and they ask for a change, then they should be willing to change it if there's enough feedback for it, right? So I don't think there's an all-encompassing answer for this. It's purely contextual. But my favorite overall game that I've played that has a good answer for this topic is DNF Duel, where the game offers both, but there's risk reward in this built into the system that punishes and rewards players that want to actually learn motion inputs, right? And even though there's a deficit to doing simple inputs in the game, it's not to the point where characters are unplayable or you should never ever do it, right? Once again, I like doing the simple input for reversals because it just gives me a way better reaction time to jump ins and mix ups and stuff like that. But once again, there's also a negative because I do less damage and I lose on more energy recovery. So it's risk reward, and it creates a fun gameplay loop. And just overall, DNF Duel is just a fun game to play, you know? So I think all these games, Invincible, Marvel, 2XKO, Hunter x Hunter, if the game is fun enough on its own, then I don't think motion inputs and simple inputs are an issue. If the game is just already fun and a lot of people enjoy it. So, yeah, that's going to be it for that. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please support the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button. Remember to check out my links in the description. And also check out Sajam's channel. I will have his channel and the video here in the description as well. That's all I have for today. So have a good evening, everyone. And I will see you guys in the next reaction video. Sayonara.